Hey guys, my name is Tonea Smith and this is Restore to Flourish. It is a Christian based YouTube channel where I host different podcasts, but I also do Bible studies. Today's going to be a little bit different though. I felt like God told me to share my testimony in a way that I haven't shared it before. Not because I wanted to hide anything, but because I just never got the perspective that I got on it until yesterday. I was literally sitting in the park and I was just like, wow, like I didn't even think about it like this before. If you know me personally, you've heard this several times in the past, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but at the same time, I just feel like sharing it in this capacity or in this from this angle is going to make a world of a difference in somebody's life. So, about 3 years ago now, I broke up with my ex partner, the father of my child, and we were together for 14 years. While we were together, I was in school for to become a therapist. I got my bachelor's degree in human development and family studies, and then I went on to get my master's degree in counseling. And graduation is approaching, and there in my mind at the time, if I go back and think about what my perspective was, there was no immediate plans of figuring out how to continue on my walk towards therapy. Um, I had always envisioned myself working in the mental health field. You know, growing up, I remember somebody asking me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I was 6, 7 maybe, and I said psychiatrist before I even actually knew what that meant. Like I felt it in my bones that that was what I was going to be. And so, um, again, I'm approaching graduation and there's no urgency within me. The only thing that I have the urgency for, the only thing that I have a pressure for, an internal pressure for, is to become a wife and is to become a mother and is to start living this life that I have always lived of dreaming. And I'm finding myself after graduation doing things that are the opposite of what I went to school for. I immediately get this customer service job and they are paying me extremely well. And then I go on to get go on to get a house. I go on to get a car, and things are just happening, and I feel like, oh wow, this is what I've always been desiring. While in the meantime, my actual relationship is falling apart. And I want to pause here because this is not to bash my ex at all. I think a lot of times when we tell our testimonies, we're so used to blaming somebody else or blaming the other person for what was done to us, or at least testimonies like this, we're so used to blaming the other partner. But if you were to ask my ex during that entire time frame if he wanted me to give up my career for him, he would have definitely said no. He was pushing me towards becoming a therapist. He was advocating for me and encouraging me. But I was the one willingly putting it to the side in order for us to maintain our lifestyle at that point, because I knew becoming a therapist, it wasn't going to make me the money I needed to make to maintain that house or to maintain those bills or to take care of that child that I always wanted or to buy that wedding that I always desired to have. I needed money and I needed it to come in quickly. So, so again, I'm going hard in my customer service position, which is nowhere near what God put me on this earth for, but that's what I'm doing. And I have plans to become a manager and plans to do this and plans to do that. And all the while, my relationship is falling apart. And so it ends, and it was devastating for me. It was traumatic. I'm embarrassed by a lot of the things that I did during that time. Eventually, I will share it, but I have to make sure that it is done in a respectful way because there are other people involved. But I am very embarrassed at the things that I did during that time. But again, I was lost. I had given up everything to keep that relationship together. Not because he asked me to, but because I willingly gave it up. And that's what happens when you idolize things. That's what happens when you idolize people and relationships and money and cars and whatever else, and fame and whatever it else that you put above God. You end up losing yourself in return. So I was definitely putting that relationship before God. And I realized that in return of me putting that relationship and idolizing that relationship before God, I was losing my very purpose for being on this earth. God called me before he put me into my mother's womb. God called me to be a therapist. He helped me. He called me to help people, to assist them in getting mental health and getting mental well-being. And I was willing to throw all that away. I did. Not even I was willing. I did throw all of that away in order to be a wife and in order to have this happy family that I wanted everybody else to think that I had. I wanted everybody else to think that I was admirable, that I was valued. And so because of that, I gave it all away. God destroyed that relationship. He destroyed my position within the customer service role. I was highly favored at that company for a very long time. I could feel God's hand when I was there. I could, everything was great. Everything was extremely easy. But the last few months that I was there, everything turned on me. There were certain people who disliked me. There were certain, and I'm a people pleaser. I work to please you. I work for you to like me. It's a toxic trait of mine that I know, but I know that I didn't deserve what was being brought to me. The only thing that I can explain it is that God changed the atmosphere so that I could get out of there. Because towards the end of my career, I had started dabbling back into therapy. After the breakup, I was like, okay, I gotta start, right? I gotta kind of dabble back into it. And so I started working as a part-time therapist while still working full-time at this customer service job. And again, the tides just changed, and they ended up letting me go. Had they not let me go, I would have not trusted God to sustain my life as a therapist. I just didn't believe that he could. I didn't believe that I could make that much money, or any type of money really, in order to maintain the lifestyle that I desired to have. And so a year later at this point, it's been a year actually. God is maintaining my life. He is maintaining my daughter's life. He is allowing me to fully walk into my role as a therapist. And again, like I said, I just was reflecting on it yesterday, and I was just like, wow, God, I would have thrown all of this away. I don't even think that I would have been here had that relationship still existed. I hate that it ended. I never wish that on anybody. I even hate that for my ex-partner. I wish we were still together for the purpose of our daughter. I don't like that we have to raise her in two separate households. I never wish that on anybody. But having to go through all of that to be who God called me to be, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I'm sharing this to somebody, to not just show them the what God can do for you, but to show them that God can still do it for you even when you're the one to hand it away. Like I said, my ex did not want me to throw any of that away for him. I willingly gave it away because of what was in my heart. And God will still redeem if you repent. If you repent and acknowledge what you're doing. If you acknowledge that you're putting anything else above him, you've got to be the one to admit it. You've got to be the one to acknowledge it. And when you do, he can restore everything that you handed away to the enemy. I was handing it away to the enemy, not my ex. My ex didn't want it. He didn't want me to throw away my career. I willingly handed it away to my enemy, to my spiritual enemy. And so again, I just pray that touches somebody. Like I said, that perspective was given to me in a new way. And I'm hoping that anybody else who is not just putting a relationship, but money or fame or less, if you're putting anything above God and you're willingly doing it, just know that God gives us the opportunity to take those things back in his name. All right, guys, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.